Welcome to the Pen Leader Podcast, where strategic leaders get straight to the topics, strengthening our awareness and sharpening our minds. The Pen Leader Podcast is produced by Roar, a production division of Mays & Associates Ltd. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Now here is your award-winning host, Dr. Shanda Gore.
And welcome to the Pen Leader Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about from data to direction, and I am glad to have with me two wonderful guests. I have Dr. Michelle Webb, who serves as the core faculty member in the Doctor of Occupational Therapy program at Rocky Mountain University of Health Professions. She's received her post-professional Doctor of Occupational Therapy degree from RMU and earned a Doctor of Education degree with a concentration in higher and post-secondary education from Argosy University. She completed her undergraduate studies at the University of New York at Buffalo. She's a licensed occupational therapist and certified aging in place specialist with more than 30 years of healthcare experience, and is a fellow of the Northwest Commission on Colleges and Universities Mission Fulfillment Program, which prepares leaders to advance the mission of institutional effectiveness. I also have with me Dr. Courtney Moore, who is the Assistant Program Director of the Doctor of Speech Therapy Pathology program at Rocky Mountain University of Health Professions. He earned his doctorate from RMU in 2019, as well as his undergraduate and master's degrees from Seton Hall University. Dr. Moore has more than 11 years of clinical experience in acute care setting, predominantly in a comprehensive stroke center and level 1 trauma hospital. So I am so glad, without further ado, welcome to Dr. Webb and Dr. Moore.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gore. Thank you for having us.
Excellent.
Pleasure to be here, Dr. Gore.
Excellent. I just was looking at these, these vitas and resumes are just amazing. And I just thought to myself, there's so much we could talk about, but I think that it's so critically important to talk about how you take the data and get direction from it, because so many people are out here. It doesn't matter if you're in a clinical background or if you're not in a healthcare profession. This is really a key component of the most effective leaders. And so I'm going to start there and ask, how do you define strategic leadership in the context of data interpretation and planning? And I'll start with you, Dr. Webb.
That's a great question, Dr. Gore. When I think about strong and effective leadership, I think one of the first things that leaders have to do is really to set a clear, focused vision for what they want, but let that vision be grounded in evidence. And I think that's probably one of the first things that you can do when you take that step and you're thinking about that type of strategic leadership.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Moore, what do you think about that?
Agreed. I think that is wonderful input by Dr. Webb. Something that at RMU, we've taken the Healthcare Professions Education Certificate. One of the classes was Learning Theory and Design. One of the biggest principles in that course was the notion of transformational leadership. And I think in that concept is not only making transactional, hey, as a leader, I need my staff to do X, Y, or Z with no explanation. Rather transformationally, hey, I'd like for us to do this, and these skills, based on the data that we see, can impact the outcomes that we are seeking and further generalize into other skills that you can perform not only within the university, the institution, but for your career. And so I think that it's very important to have the backing of the data to drive where we go, and even more so to have that perspective of a strategic leader when carrying this forward.
Mm-hmm. What role does surveys play in that? Because now you're talking about collecting data from different sources. And I know predominantly this one is focused on, you did a survey that was internal with both your students and your staff and your faculty. But in reality, there's a number of groups that are doing pulse surveys or trying to get just kind of understanding what's going on. How did a survey play a part, Dr. Webb?
That's, again, Dr. Gore, I think one of the things that I've seen over the years is that sometimes there are many surveys that are administered, but they're not always the right surveys.
Mm.
So, you really have to query your constituents and figure out, and the best way to figure it out is by asking them, what is meaningful to them? What is it that they want to change or see changed? Or what is the direction that they feel that we can take to increase our, whether it be enrollments, whether it be your academic programming, what have you. But I think that's where the leaders start. It's again taking all of that information from those surveys, querying your constituents, and doing something with the data. I think that I could say that one of the things that has been expressed to me over the years is that there's nothing worse than filling out several surveys, lengthy surveys. You're queried all the time, and then you don't find that anything has been done.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels like a waste of time. And that's just something that you want to avoid if at all possible.
I have to admit, I've seen that happen, and people just know this survey's coming and we're going to fill it out, or they're going to ask us to fill it out, but then they're not going to do anything with it. So what does it matter if I even complete it? And that's where you have drop-off rates and just really a lack of care, because there's people don't think you're going to do anything with it. So that is a real situation. And unfortunately, if you don't have a proven track record of doing something with it, you can't expect people to complete a survey and take 7 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever that is, their time. Yes. Dr. Moore, what do you think?
I think surveys are a very valuable tool to elicit information. I think it just depends on the questions being asked and when they are asked. I think survey fatigue is a real thing. I think you have to be very tactful as to, what other surveys are being administered simultaneously as the survey that you are posing, and to be very unique in the questions that you're delivering so that you can get the type of responses unbiased, but the type of information that you're looking for,
Mm-hmm,
because
mm-hmm.
that is what that's what you're going to use as a catalyst for change, not just yes no questions or percentages. The way that you can run a qualitative analysis afterwards is great, but you need to have that substance. You need to draw that from your audience. And I think that what we've done with our surveys at RMU, specifically from UDEI that I can speak to, we are very intentional, very tactful in terms of timing and method of questions. And I think that has been a strong proponent for some of the changes that we've seen on campus.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with that, Dr. Moore.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that we're doing and that we see at our institution is that, as you said, we're being very deliberate with our questions. We don't want redundancy. And if we can reduce that, it's our hope that we just get better data from our constituents.
Mm-hmm. So this leads me to thinking about an example, because again, having a survey, because you've done the survey more than once, and I want to stress to our listeners, it takes more than one time to survey to understand. And what gets the recognition and understanding and gets done is those that are measured. And so you have to do more than one survey to measure to see if you've even had progress or not. But I'm going to, drill down. Dr. Moore, what do you think of like an example of a time where the survey gave you a result and you maybe significantly shifted because of the result of the survey?
Sure. Yeah. No, I think many of our more recent events have been developed with the survey results in mind. We've been pretty intentional with these events, honoring celebratory months and keeping in mind, for example, in one of the surveys, we learned quite a bit about the diversity of the community on our campus. That immediately caused us to really think about, okay, how varied are we in the types of celebrations and populations that we're honoring, and to get very creative and very inclusive, even more than we were. And I think that's based on the attendance, based on the feedback that we welcome from the community itself, from the RMU community in general. I think it's been well received so far. So I think that's a good example of, we've taken the information, new information that we've gleaned from these surveys, implemented in our thought processes and our planning, and have created these new events. Yes, fun, creative, but also beneficial to the populations at our university's community.
Excellent. Dr. Webb, one of the most common challenges that you think that organizations face when trying to convert survey data into actionable strategies? Because you've done it successfully, but I know you know what the challenges are. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh my goodness, yes. And Dr. Gore, there are several, as you know, challenges that come with that. But I think one of the things, and we really have already alluded to it in the previous questions, but it's that failure to do something with the findings, that failure to integrate the findings from the data. And like I said before, that is the basis for change. I think about also there are surveys that we have administered at our institution that have really helped us to redefine our strategic plan.
Mm-hmm.
Our strategic plan has recently been updated, but that wasn't done in a silo. That wasn't, done with just a few people in administration. We really had some good dialogue throughout the university about what changes did we want to see, what direction do we want to take the university towards. And we were all queried. And so I think that's a good example of getting that feedback from people within your university and trying to make a difference.
Mm-hmm. And the challenges with that is I mean, you're talking about change. Change can be hard. And I can imagine the kind of conversations that happen when you say, we want to change from A to B. And there are people that are saying, you know what, I really liked A, the pathway we were taking over here. So now you're asking me to go over here to B. I would think that the data collection probably helped you build a good case to switch over to the case B. All right.
Absolutely. The data, it makes me think of situations where, and they could be very, very viable, very accurate situations where directors are looking for more faculty members.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens. And and you as a director, you know why you need these additional professors in your department. But if the data is not there to support that type of change, it becomes difficult. Your administration is going to want to see what is the return on investment
Mm-hmm.
for bringing in these new faculty members, or it can be really anyone in your institution, any new staff hire. So the data can be used to support and inform those types of requests and decisions, and hopefully get that department or departments moving in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Your thoughts on that, Dr. Moore?
I think, especially in these moments when we're making plans, for example, for next year's budgeting,
Mm-hmm.
it's all data driven. It's all, yes, we wish for this, or, in an ideal world, but it's all proven and backed by data. You need to see what is the return on investment, like Dr. Webb said. I mean, ultimately, any institution you run is a business, has to have a strong foundation, and that foundation comes from performance, evaluate outcomes measures, not only for students and faculty, but for the university and how things are running. And so, I see the value in the data, and I think many others do as well. And that's what we use to prove our case, not only for, new hires, but also for everything that we do, especially in healthcare. Even the evaluations and interventions that we provide, it's all evidence-based practice.
Mm-hmm.
And so similarly, when running in a university or performing a diagnostic evaluation, there's all some backing or some theory that you're following that tends to be objective, that proves what you're doing is in the best interest of its constituents.
Mm-hmm. And here comes the next question of understanding how technology plays a part. Because I have heard that, again, individuals are saying, well, do we really need to survey, or can we just model this out with the help of AI? So I'd like to, if possible, if you could talk about potentially how technology such as AI has changed or perhaps improved, or just and any thoughts on the collection of survey data?
If I might take a stab at this first, I think that we have to welcome artificial intelligence. It's not going anywhere. We have to know how to use it properly. And I think we can use it. I think it's effective in organization. I think it's effective in developing plans or strategies or some type of blueprint or outline. but I think there's something to be said about that human experience to make it very personable. I don't think that AI personally, I think it can be used for references. I think it can be used to make the processes quicker, but I don't think that human experience is met by the interaction of purely AI alone. I think there's something very, very valuable. I think AI can speak to the objectivity of a problem-solving experience, but I think the human experience speaks to the subjectivity and the tailoring of an intervention plan, a plan of care, or you know, making future plans for a business and how to scale and grow and think about the different options. I think in a collaboration, in a complementary relationship, I think is most effective.
Mm-hmm.
But I think AI is not going anywhere, so I think that they are interdependent.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Webb, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would have to agree with what Dr. Moore said. When I first heard that question, one of the first things that came to my mind was just what Dr. Moore said. AI is not going anywhere. Our students are using it, and we have to be the brokers to show them how to use it effectively.
Mm-hmm.
AI is only as good as the prompts or the input that it's given.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, when we're talking about using it for surveys and survey data, I think it can be used to help you. I think of it, from a qualitative standpoint, particularly, it can help you to start to generate some of those themes. Can't do all the coding for you, but it can start you off in the right spot. And then you, as Dr. Moore said, that human element comes in and looks at it more specifically. But I think AI can give you a foundation to start your analysis.
Excellent, excellent. Well, now I'm going to ask you some questions that I think they're fun, the fun questions, which is because you both are, you do so much reading. I know that you sit on a number of committees, but I don't know if you have pleasure reading that's built into there. So I'm going to ask you, what are you reading and what are you watching? So I'm going to start with you, Dr. Webb.
Oh my goodness. I'm a person, I read about 5 books at a
Oh
time.
my goodness. Come
It's
on now.
not very effective, but I do it. Uh, but I love James Patterson. If I'm in a mood where I want to be scared, I love Stephen King.
Mm.
If if I get into my political mindset, I love books like that. I'm reading right now, just about halfway through Liz Cheney's Oath and Honor.
Mhm.
And so I'm always reading those types of books, but I love to read. Love to read.
All right. Dr. Moore, what about you?
So I am a new dad.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that.
Yep,
Do you have time to
yep.
read? Do you have time to sleep?
On that note, I'm reading a book called The Daily Dad, and it is by Ryan Holiday.
Who is it?
And
Who's that?
Ryan Holiday is
Ryan
the
Holiday.
author. It's
Okay.
called The Daily Dad. And
Okay.
so it's to be read over the course of a year. And so every day you have a story about fatherhood and really interesting perspectives on how to be a good dad. So I'm trying to keep up with that. So far, so good. 9 months in, I've read daily. Found some time to read daily. It usually takes like 5-10 minutes of the day. So I try to end my days on that. But it's been really fun. Otherwise, I loved Matthew McConaughey, Green Lights.
Mm.
I read that recently. That was such a great, great book. David Goggins, Can't Stop Me. I love those self-help, inspirational reads, but those are two of my favorites most recently. I also try to be a good husband, so I watch Love is Blind. I've been watching, not Love is Blind, Love Island. Love
Oh,
Island.
well,
I've been
love my.
watching it.
That might have been a
Uh,
slip there, you little jeez.
uh, uh, yeah, yeah. Any of those, at the end of the day, whatever Bravo is on my TV that my wife is watching, I'll just support her in those
I,
endeavors.
I see that. I see that. I hear this. So if she listens to the show, just know he really meant what he said there. He let me help here. He just so enjoys watching those. So how's that?
I can just hear her now just saying, "Don't lie. You know you love those shows anyway."
Aw. Well, I can't thank you both enough for coming on the show and really sharing again some how that data part is really driving strategic planning and change within your organization. And again, some pointers on what to look out for. So I appreciate both your time. Thank you for coming on.
It's a
Thank you
pleasure.
so much.
Thanks, Dr. Gore.
And thank you to our listeners who are catching the show, liking it, and sharing it. We appreciate you. And we want your feedback at info@mazeassociatesltd.com. We'd also like to thank our sponsor, Edward Jones Financial Advisor, Jennifer Panzician. She's fantastic. Thank you so much for your support. And don't forget, the Pen Leader Path book is out. Identify, engage, and develop effective human and AI leadership for your organizational culture, which has data to support it. So until next time.
The Pen Leader podcast is hosted by Dr. Shanda Gore and brought to you by Maze & Associates Ltd, creating customized solutions for growth in the areas of leadership development, strategic planning, and culture building. Find out more at www.mazeassociatesltd.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Pen Leader podcast and share with others.